Well, hello, this is Lisa Anderson. I'm president of ASCM Inland Empire Chapter and also the president of LMA Consulting Group. And I'm thrilled to be here today it couldn't be a more appropriate day for this topic with the bombshell tariff announcements last week and the resulting chaos and volatility that has ensued thus far, but it is certainly stimulating a manufacturing renaissance. So we'll see from the expert here shortly with Michele Nash-Hoff. I'm very thrilled that she could be here with us today. I very much appreciate, Michele, you sharing your expertise. Michele is founder and president of Electrofab Sales, a sales agency specializing in helping manufacturers select the right processes for their products. He's earned certificates in total quality management. She's a yellow belt in Lean Six Sigma. She's on the board of San Diego Inventors Forum. And she's written several books, actually, including Rebuilding Manufacturing, The Key to American Prosperity, and which is a sequel to Can American Manufacturing Be Saved? I can't, as I said, I can't imagine a better speaker and a better topic for a timely topic, to be sure. And we very much are looking forward to hearing what you have to say about manufacturing and what we should all be thinking. And I followed your work for a very long time as I consult with manufacturers and have always been a really strong proponent of seeing manufacturing succeed. So I'm looking forward to it as well. So with that said, I'll turn it over to you to get us started, Michele.
Thank you, Lisa. It's a pleasure. It's been a 15-year journey. Well, actually, more like a 17-year journey since I started writing my book, Can American Manufacturing, back in 2007, and it was published in 2009. So it's been a long journey. And my website, savingusmanufacturing.com, I've actually written over 300 articles since 2009. So this is
Wow.
this is my passion. This is my purpose in life, to do what I can the rest of my life to now rebuild American manufacturing. We have saved it, but now we've been rebuilding it now, especially for the last 10 years. And so I've done everything from part-time lobbying for the Coalition for a Prosperous America, and as well as, put on 6 manufacturing summits between 2013 and 2018 around the state for the Coalition for a Prosperous America. So this is my pleasure. I do, I've given many different presentations at trade shows and conferences and so forth. So it's a pleasure to be here. And I guess all I have to do is share screen now.
Share screen, and then we'll keep you highlighted so you're visible in the front left.
Oh,
but that'd be awesome.
Okay, where do I want to do here?
Oh, so go to the bottom and do share with the green.
I did that. Now I'm at.
Now you said just select your screen and then hit enter.
Oh, okay. I have a bunch of
documents. The one that says screen on your screen. So click on that, and then at the bottom it says share.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, so now I gotta pick.
In manufacturing, we are always prepared for. We're always resilient.
Right, but now I don't know how to get to my document because I don't see it.
Did you share the screen?
Yes,
there you
I
go.
did.
Click on that. There you go.
Perfect. Okay. So I'll start it from the
beginning. And now you can, like, if you want, you can always click on that. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. You got it.
Okay. So, well, just a brief reminder of what's happened to manufacturing over the past 25 years. We lost 70,000 manufacturing sites abandoned in the past 25 years. 70,000 manufacturers gone. And our trade deficit escalated, and I guess our trade deficit for 2024 was the highest ever. So hasn't gotten better. And as a result, we've lost, people are not getting to see the very end of it, but we actually have been recouping manufacturing. First, we lost 5.8 million manufacturing jobs from 2000 to 2010. And since 2010, we've been gradually going up from reshoring and foreign direct investment, which means foreign companies from other countries coming and building plants in the United States. So that's how we've gone up by about 1.2 million manufacturing jobs since the depth of it at the worst of it at 2010. So, what was the cause of losing all these manufacturing? Well, after World War II, we changed our trade policy from protecting American industry to actually promoting industrial globalization. First of all, we wanted to rebuild Europe and Japan. And so that had a purpose to it for a while. But by the 1970s, we really didn't have that as a reason any longer. And some of our former allies became actually predatory as far as the trade deficit, because they were charging value-added taxes, and they were charging, which is a tariff by another name, and we were not charging. Found at first we had the general agreement on tariffs and that we did after 1948. Then in the 1995, we established the World Trade Organization. And then starting in 2001, China was admitted to the World Trade Organization. So we actually opened our market up to every other country to come and sell in the biggest market in the world, which is the United States, without charging anybody really any tariffs when they were part of these agreements. So that is how we opened ourselves up. And first we had competition from Japan in the 1980s that decimated a lot of our electronics industry, and things like TVs and stereos, etc. That was the first industry that really was impacted by foreign trade with Japan, and then South Korea, and we were offshoring to Mexico and offshoring to Puerto Rico before that. And it was really because companies were following this herd mentality. I don't know where we're going, but we just went off the cliff like lemmings as far as outsourcing to low-wage, poorly regulated countries, downsizing jobs to cut costs and raise profits, and shifting from a manufacturing to a services economy. People way back in the early 1990s, there was a book called Megatrends that was predicting we would transform from an industrial manufacturing society to a service economy. Well, the problem is service jobs don't pay the same as manufacturing jobs. In fact, manufacturing jobs are the foundation of the middle class. We grew a middle class between 1900 and the end of 2000, 1999, and the daily wage went up from $2.50 a day to an average of $96 a day. So that was our foundation of our middle class. So we didn't realize the cost it was going to bring to our country. So there are, ways to rebuild manufacturing. These are the ones that I've considered in my books. We actually have to have a national manufacturing strategy to improve our business climate by changing tax, trade, and regulation policies, renegotiating trade agreements, withdrawing from the Trans-Pacific Partnership and Paris Climate Accord, revitalize domestic manufacturing through reshoring, transforming companies through lean training, utilizing Industry 4.0 technologies and methods, and we have to educate youth on career opportunities to replace the retiring baby boomers. So thank goodness we did withdraw from the Trans-Pacific Partnership in Trump's first administration. And thank goodness we didn't go on ahead under the Bidens and sign it. We did go back to having the Paris Climate Accord under Biden, but Trump immediately withdrew us again after he was inaugurated in January. So those are the good things. So how can we balance our trade for economic growth? Well, renegotiating trade agreements, establish tariffs on Chinese goods, eliminate trade cheating from transshipping. Transshipping is where a country that's one of our we have a big deficit with, and maybe we impose tariffs like the steel and aluminum tariffs that Trump imposed in his first term. They ship that country, China, ship to maybe South Korea, or they ship to Vietnam, and then it would be shipped from South Korea or Vietnam as if it was not made in China. So that's what transshipping means. We also need to strengthen Buy American requirements for government procurement at all levels, from city level on up to the federal government. And we need to defend our industries that are critical to national security, our health of our citizens, and economic growth. So Trump did, in his first term, he did renegotiate NAFTA and KORUS, the Korean Free Trade Agreement. He did negotiate bilateral trade agreements with China, United Kingdom, and Japan, and China didn't live up to any of the things that we negotiated. He did increase enforcement of current agreements to reduce trade cheating. He established tariffs on Chinese steel, aluminum, solar panels, and other goods like washing machines, and enforced penalties on transshipping of steel and aluminum. And he instituted policies to make U.S. energy independent. So we had a good start for 4 years, and we made a big improvement during those 4 years as far as reshoring was going. But then we had 4 years under the Biden administration. So I've been involved with the reshoring initiative that was started by Harry Mosier in 2010. And it was because I wrote an article in August of 2010 on how to use total cost of ownership analysis based on the hard copy worksheets of the National Tooling and Machining Association and the American Mold Builders Association. Well, Harry contacted me, said, "You're writing about what I just started." And he trained me in his total cost of ownership analysis worksheet. And the objective was to change the mindset of companies from offshore is cheaper to local reduces the total cost of ownership. And his purpose was to train OEMs on why to source local and how to use the TCO calculator, and to encourage production near the customer. Well, at first, we were actually emailing this worksheet calculator to people, but we didn't know who was using it and whether anybody was creating any jobs. So about a year later in 2011, he made it where everybody had to go to his website, reshorenow.org, and they could use it online, and then they would get a printed valuation and get everything, get the help, because you could do it for a product or a specific part from a particular country, and you could see where you could reshore. So he's been collecting data now since 2011. And I've been his authorized West Coast speaker since 2010. So most people don't realize that buyers today are actually, shall we say, they're judged by their efforts on purchase price variance. How many parts did they place at the lowest cost? That's the policy of many companies, that they have to place the order with the lowest cost. Some companies allow their buyers to take in shipping costs, and so we have landed costs. But they're ignoring some major things like the threat of intellectual property infringement, the cost of inventory to have a higher safety stock, and then having quality problems where you get parts that you have to reject and China doesn't want to take them back as credit. Then you have poor communication since you're dealing with people that are not English as a first language. And then you have travel expenses to go visit your vendor in China or other parts of Asia or the world. So you can see that only a total cost of ownership captures 100% of the cost, where landed still leaves about 13% not quantified, and the purchase price variance really leaves a big chunk, 23%, that's not counted. So globalization of the U.S. supply chains has failed. We became 70 to 95% import dependent, primarily on China. And it was impossible to scale up here fast enough during the COVID pandemic. It was a big lesson to everybody during the COVID pandemic shutdowns, because we couldn't get things that were coming from China for a while. And the supply chains were really totally impacted globally. So the potential reshoring benefits are: we could eliminate the trade deficit. We would add 3 million manufacturing jobs. And each manufacturing jobs creates 2 to 3 other jobs. So that could be a total of 9 to 12 more million jobs for the country. We already have employment now down still about 4%, so we could cut it even more. We would cut the U.S. budget deficit that's in the trillions by about 50%. We'd have about a 25% increase in manufacturing, and if spread over 20 years, we'd have about a 25% annual capital equipment investment that companies would be making by reshoring. So here's not the latest chart. Harry Meltzer doesn't have a chart yet up through 2022. So that's the reshoring is the blue line, and the foreign direct investment is the red line. So we have increased jobs, and we did another great increase in 2023 and 24. Here are some trends that are likely to start to help reshoring. More and more consumers are wanting to buy America, and they want American-made products. They don't want to buy products from China. The 55% of people don't think China can be trusted to follow through, and they certainly didn't. 75% say they'd be willing to pay more for products from a company that makes manufacturing in the US. So, but how much they'd be willing to pay is another question that hasn't been really quantified yet. So we need to revitalize our domestic supply chain. We need to have more companies need to look at reshoring. The latest data by two companies, I wrote an article a couple of weeks ago, and the latest data is there's 2 surveys that were done at the end of the year, at the beginning of the year, that shows that about up to 85% of CEOs are now looking at reshoring, bringing manufacturing back to America. That's a significant increase just in 2 years. So that is, and of course now we're going to have, something else that's even going to incentivize American companies more, and that's the tariffs that have just been imposed as of, let's see, 4 days ago, Liberty Day, April 2nd. So, but American made matters more now than it ever has before. So we need to shift the mindset that we're in an inevitable decline from manufacturing to vibrant opportunities that will contribute to revitalizing manufacturing. We need to actually change the mindset of people. That's not an easy thing to do, and sometimes it takes a really, shall we say, knock on the head to get people to do that. And that is why the tariffs are so important, because that may be the final knock on the head that's going to get some people to actually say, yes, we have to reshore. We have to return manufacturing to America. Or if you're a foreign country, we need to build a plant in the United States to be closer to the market and not to have to pay a tariff. And that is the reason.
Okay.
That is the reason why companies like Toyota and Nissan and BMW have built plants in the United States because cars are expensive to ship. They're big, they're heavy. There's not many cars that can go in a container. So that was the real reason why these foreign car companies have come to the United States. I got to visit areas of South Carolina and North Carolina where there were BMW plants that had been established in the United States to be able to avoid, the cost of transportation from Germany to the United States. We need to realize that we now have a world of vibrant opportunities. It's happening now, but it's not widely scaled. There are all these new industries, the electrification of everything, clean tech, smart cities, Internet of everything, technology involved in agriculture, advanced manufacturing. This is our new world of opportunity to where the future can be made here in the US. Oops. So this was a short presentation, so I'm going to eliminate my screen and do a lot of, more talking about the subject because okay.
That's perfect.
Okay. So now we're
You want
in
me to
this.
unshare, or
Yeah,
you want me
yeah,
to, yeah, I
yeah.
think you can, I think what you do is that, on the top of your screen, there should be something that you can click on that
Oh,
says
okay,
like
stop sharing.
unshare.
That's
Yeah,
it.
there you
There
go.
we go.
There you go.
Okay. So
And
now,
we could talk about this topic for quite the time, huh,
oh
Michelle?
yes,
So
oh
keep going though.
definitely, right,
And
definitely.
we have
So
questions, so I'll ask you some of those too once you get, but I'll
oh
let you keep
yeah,
going.
but I have, more to cover because people are questioning, okay, won't the tariffs really start increasing inflation? Well, there's been two extensive reports on that. One was done by the Office of OMB of the federal government, and one was done by the Coalition for a Prosperous America. And they were using the data from the effect of the tariffs on steel during Trump's first term, and the ones that stayed in effect, like the tariffs on steel and aluminum. They the report, both of the reports showed that the net effect of inflation because of those tariffs was 0.5%. So those tariffs only added 0.5% to the inflation. The inflation is really caused by government overspending. That's really the main cause of inflation. So yes, there will be costs added to the price, but um, companies realize they can't totally pass on all the costs of a tariff, or they would lose market share. They can only responsibly increase it to a certain point. They're going to have to, shall we say, use some of those Industry 4.0 technologies and reduce the costs of doing business. And reshoring, reduces the cost of inventory. There's a lot of costs that can be reduced when you think, okay, I'm not going to get this from China, so I don't have to pay the tariffs. I'm going to make it in the US or find a US vendor for something. So we can't keep letting we have a trade deficit with 177 countries. We haven't had a balanced trade balance since 1979. We've been
Wow.
in imbalance since then. We've been in a deficit since then that just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. We can't keep doing that. We have to say, no, this is the time. And Trump has said, this is the time to stop it for our own safety, for our own national security. We can't be getting products from China and other countries that we need to defend our country. If China invades Taiwan, we are getting nothing from China. That will be an enormous disruption. I've done articles on how China has become part of our military and defense supply chain. And I
Very
actually
concerning.
researched, yeah, I
How is
researched
that
how it
possible,
started.
Michelle? Because I thought that, like, I've worked with aerospace and defense clients, and generally speaking, there's like guidelines where you're not supposed to get products outside of, I don't remember what the
It's
rule is called
because
right now, but
back in
how is
at
this
the end of the
possible?
Cold War in 1992, we took a look at where companies were getting their products from. And we decided it needed to expand from, you know, mil spec parts. That's part, I mean, I've been in the manufacturing industry since I was 18. I worked for Cubic Defense for 6 years and before I started my rep company. And parts had to be mil spec qualified. Well, in the early 90s, after the Cold War ended, they ended this requirement for certain standard components, mainly electronic components, so that they could buy commercial components instead of mil spec components. So
Not a good
that's,
thing.
yeah. So it's over a 30-year thing that started that because they no longer had to buy every component that met mil spec qualification. They were allowed to meet the commercial specifications. And over the years, the commercial products started to be made only in China for some things. You can go down a list of electronic components and you can't find any American company that's making some components now.
I I don't know if I want to answer. I don't know if I want the answer to this question, but is it improving? Because like that's concerning.
That it is improving, and it's partly because of the reshore the partly because of the efforts of the reshoring initiative and also the manufacturing extension partnerships that have been helping companies. There's a program that the MEPs have to try and find substitute parts for people so they don't have to buy the parts from overseas. And
Well, and I see there's a question related to this, so I'll just ask it. But it's asking about the difference between ISO and mil specs. My guess is from what you're saying is that what you're saying, I think, is that the theoretically the less like the more standard types of parts were allowed to be outsourced at the
right. The,
time.
the mil spec had a standard 45208, and everything had to comply with that. ISO did not replace the mil spec standards. They st that because ISO covers everything about how a company is run, where
Okay.
the mil spec components just applied to the specifications of that particular part and how it was made. And we're
Makes sense.
tracking the sources of the materials and everything that went to be part of that assembly. So that's the different. They're not the same.
And there's
ISO
another.
didn't replace mil spec.
No, and there's another, I know I forgot the name of it at the moment, but there's another aerospace rule about, domestic production, if you will. But obviously they found a route around it for the mil spec.
Oh, they did. Yes. And I have articles that I've written about, studies where they did studies to find out how many parts were in from countries like China coming into our mil-spec industry. So if you went back to my website and searched under, you could find our article I've written in the past about these different things because I try
Very
and
cool.
keep up with this on topics. So there's no lack of topics to write about.
That is very true.
It was actually, American manufacturers actually created, funded the military buildup of China because of all their sourcing and fund and investments in China. So we've been investing in our enemy. We now realize we've been investing in our enemy, but we
Right.
didn't count them as an enemy for many years.
Well
So.
intentioned, but that's the result.
Oh yeah, right. Oh yeah. Well, it was well intentioned to rebuild Japan and Europe, but when we didn't need to allow them to take over markets. So yeah, we've been had our head in the sand for probably 40 years. So it's time to get our head out of the sand and wake up to the reality. Because, we learned in COVID too that it's also products that are beneficial and necessary for maintaining the health of our country. You know, when we couldn't get ventilators and we couldn't get this and we couldn't get that medical, products from China because of the pandemic. So we were already also endangering the health of our country, not
Right.
just our national security. So, but
Right. Right.
those are the two main reasons for protecting why tariffs are necessary: national security and protecting the health and welfare of our country. So
Makes
those are
sense. Now, how is it okay if I ask a question, or do you
sure,
have?
sure,
So, since, like you said, the pandemic certainly put a spotlight on some of our risk. However, like you, I've been writing like weekly, if not more than, a few articles a week, really. And a lot of them relate to this topic. And I would say it's, I feel like we're moving in the right direction, but very slowly. Like, it was hard to find examples. Now, I think part of the reason you can't find examples is who in the right mind would their tell their suppliers in China that they were leaving. But I was wondering if you have like hope, if you will, because obviously you can't just start today and like start up a manufacturing facility in a day or anything. So one would
right.
hope that we've been making some progress along the way, but I
We
figured I'd
have, and actually
ask.
the website for the Reshoring Initiative has over 5,000 case studies on their website that you can go look at and
Right.
find out what component. I mean, Harry's actually has it where he's what kinds of products have come back and what and it's actually the parts that are heavy,
Hmm.
expensive to ship, and parts that had intellectual property that were part of them that was in danger being offshored. And when I give my other presentation on how to return manufacturing using total cost of ownership, I have some case studies, and it has been amazing to see what's been able to come back a lot because of automation. Like when you can bring back plastic tableware from China to California, because that's because of automation. So that's one of my case studies. Diving equipment has come back to the United States. DUI in San Diego, Diving Unlimited, they've come back because diving products are life-threatening if they fail. So quality problems, you can't risk somebody's life by getting a faulty, component from China. So yes, I've accumulated a couple of dozen case studies that I've used in my presentations over the years, but Harry has over 5,000 on his website now.
Hmm.
So,
So there's been progress. It's
oh, there
just what you're
has been
saying
progress.
is to do it, because I mean, I think from my understanding, one of the biggest issues is being able to manufacture at scale. And of course, there's certain industries like pharmaceuticals and defense, to your point, that are serious, that we have to make sure we have the end-to-end supply chain covered. But I would think that so long as we're making some, at least it sounds like you have examples of progress along the way, and now it's like getting it to scale, it sounds like.
Yes, and new technologies too. 3
Yeah.
3D printing and additive manufacturing are making a big difference, especially now that we have the new machines that can make production quality at production quantities of 3D printed parts. That's a game changer. Because we had to go to China for plastic injection molded parts, which I sell in my sales rep company. But what we were able to keep in the United States was all the low volume work. All the high volume
Right.
work went to China. So that's the only, and the same thing with rubber molding, all the high volume work went to China because of the cost of tooling, because tooling is a one of kind thing,
Yep.
so it's expensive, and the labor
Yep.
rates for making tooling compared to US labor rates to make tooling were so much different. But it's actually the production process of injection molding. There's no labor involved in the machine spitting out one part after another. So there were occasions where companies should have looked at bringing manufacturing back just because you were only saving on labor. And sometimes labor is only 20 to 30% of the cost of your product.
Yeah,
So
Mhm.
I've
there
definitely
were
seen that to be true.
there were a lot of opportunities for people to bring back manufacturing to the United States if they had done that total cost of ownership analysis previously. But now the new machines where you can actually, afford, you don't have to build tooling. So you don't have that high cost to begin with, and you can keep a product right here in the United States from the get-go. You can
Well,
go,
that's interesting. And what is that called, Michelle? Or is it like, I don't know, are you saying the tooling is somewhat integrated in the
no,
additive manufacturing capabilities in a
they,
way?
for example, I represent a company called Merit 3D that's in Price, Utah, and they have 25 of those new machines, and they have
Okay.
say a bed that's the size of a desk, by maybe about 12 by 20 inches. They build the part in layers from the bottom up. They they design it so the part goes at the smallest profile on the bottom and they build it up. Now there's a height limitation, so there's a size limitation that can, for a size of part that could be made, can't be so,
Yeah.
so long that it would get floppy. But they can design program it to have these parts built on the whole bed. So you're having as many parts as would fit on this bed. So obviously the smaller the part, the more parts you can fit.
True.
But Merritt actually holds the record for making a small part that would be probably under this size, and they did 40,000 of them in one day on using all
Wow.
25 machines. So you can
Wow.
see when you can get into that kind of, you know, um, you know,
Then you can produce more to scale.
yeah, you can
And it
produce more to
solves part of
scale.
the problem that everyone's talking about, which is we don't have labor. With that said, I've been saying, like, really we need the high skilled labor because the low skilled labor is going to be automated away, which it sounds like is true from what you're saying.
Yeah, right. But we're never going to, artificial intelligence is never going to be able to replace a lot of manufacturing jobs. There's hands-on jobs that are needed. And even the robotics, there's engineers needed to program them. There's also people that need to maintain the equipment.
Yep.
So, we have a shortage of the latest record I saw was close to 1 million shortage of skilled manufacturing workers,
Mhm.
Yeah.
which is projected to increase to close to 2 million by 2035 if we don't turn the page, go the
Wow.
other direction. So I mean,
Right.
Well,
I
I can
write I
see
write a
that.
lot of articles about workforce development, all the different things we need
Right.
to do for that. So.
I was trying to get because we didn't have any mechanism to participate. Okay, this is Preston speaking.
Oh, hi,
Oh,
Preston.
Hi.
okay.
I
We
was
have
hoping
Presley
that
and
you eventually wander
Kirk.
into, which I know you're very strong on, workforce development, because we have a tremendous issue, because we have a new set of technologies, because of sustainability that'll have to be put in play. The boomer generation's retiring. Not everyone is like myself that doesn't want to go play golf every day.
Yeah,
And
right. I mean,
so
I should be retired.
right. So all that's going away. And I've heard comments such as through Prosperous America, where in Congress and the Senate, wherein deliberations have taken place, where witnesses have been presented, they keep on saying, with reshoring, where are the workers? And I know that's what you have specialized in also, which is workforce development. In fact, your very
Yes.
last email to your email list at large has been about workforce development and all these skill sets that have been lost. And so, maybe you could comment on that because you do a real fine job of at least trying to get people's attention on what we
Well,
should be doing.
thank goodness the community colleges woke up first. And that's nationwide. It's the community colleges that are addressing that need for skilled workers that don't need to go to get a 4-year degree to become an engineer. and some other kind of scientists. So it's community colleges all over the country that are that have programs to teach the manufacturing jobs skills. And we in San Diego, we're fortunate that all 7 community colleges have uh, uh, certificate programs or AS degrees to provide those manufacturing skills. Miracosta has the most complete program. Miracosta College in North County has the most complete program. It's up here in Riverside County where I live now. There's only 3 colleges, so we have a long way to go.
Right.
There's other colleges. SME has a for-profit corporation called Tooling U, and they have developed a curriculum for teaching those manufacturing skills. And they make it that curriculum available for free and have support programs for high schools that want to get into training for manufacturing skills. And they have over 132 high schools now throughout the country that are using the Tooling U curriculum to train high school students, juniors and seniors in manufacturing skills, and they can actually graduate from high school with a certificate. So that's there are only 3 high schools in San Diego County that are in that SME program, which is they're called prime schools. Then we have the Fame Institute that was started by Toyota, and they have manufacturing skills training also, and they're partnering with consortiums of manufacturers. A lot of them are part of the manufacturing, the MEPs of each state, and they also have training in manufacturing skills. So that's and even some of the 4-year colleges are now getting involved in having, certificate programs like Fullerton State. So I was a speaker at Fullerton State last year at their Advanced Manufacturing Expo. So when you see, when we're starting to, and then there's consortiums of manufacturers. When I was in South Carolina, I met there was a manufacturing coalition of manufacturers, machine shops. There was 10 of them that formed a coalition to have apprenticeship programs. So they had apprenticeship programs for juniors and seniors in high school, and they would actually work part-time, about 2 hours a day at the manufacturer at the beginning of the program, and it expanded to 4 hours a day. And so when they got done, they from high school, they graduated, they had a certificate and they also had a job.
Right. That's called co-op. That's been a program across the
Yes,
country. Co-op.
right.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
funding for the state of California provides funding for apprenticeship programs, and one large machine shop in San Diego, let's see, Quality Controlled Manufacturing, started an apprenticeship program about 4 years ago. So,
Hmm.
but very few companies in San Diego County are large enough to be able to do that because
Yeah.
97% of our manufacturers in San Diego County are small businesses.
Right.
And
Under
that's
a
not unusual, right?
no, it nationwide, it's over 90% nationwide.
It's actually worldwide. You go to Canada, whatever, it's always 90%.
Okay,
Could
right.
you could you talk about de minimis? The scam that China pulled when
Oh,
they
the de minimis?
de minimis,
Oh,
yes.
Yes,
yes.
de minimis. Yes. De minimis is it started out where it was like something like $10. You could bring back things under $10, or you could have somebody send you something from another country. You didn't pay a tariff. It was on. Then they increased it, and they increased it, and they increased it. And several years ago, they increased it to $900. So that means that a company, well, okay, Timu and what is it, something other, Shine or something. So they can be sent by the postal service by mail to directly to a consumer in the United States without paying any tariffs. And it's now up to $900 per order. So they can come into the country without going through customs and paying any duties and just go directly to the consumer. So the coalition for
Definitely a loophole.
it's a
Yeah.
big
Well,
it's multi-million-dollar loophole. It's
why don't you share the numbers of how many transactions? I
oh
understand it's into the hundreds of millions right
oh
now
it is. It's hundreds of
per
millions
year,
per
per
year.
year.
Right.
Now,
Exactly.
didn't Trump work to close that loophole? I don't know, like the current
No,
status
It
though.
didn't pass. There's been a bill introduced every year for the last 5 years to close the de minimis loophole, and it hasn't gotten out of committee. So I don't know whether this year's bill has been introduced yet, but we have people from both sides of the aisle that are willing to co-sponsor a bill to do that. So this year probably has the best chance of it getting passed, especially since the former president of the Coalition for Prosperous America, Michael Stumo,
hmm
was hired on with the Office of Management and Budget in the president's office. So he's now assistant director in so that's the best chance
Good.
we have.
I think though that I don't know. I mean, I'm not the expert here, but I think that Trump put in a executive order, but that's not a long-term solution.
That's it,
No.
de minimis can't be done by executive order.
Hmm.
So it has to have it has to have legislation.
Right.
And that's what's
Well,
important, is because a lot of the things that Trump did by executive order has to have the legislation go forward to make it permanent, or else it's going to be
right.
ended in the next, administration if the opposite party comes to power. So
Right.
This
that's
one
the
area of
reality.
yeah. The one area of abuse, when you think about it, has wiped out the manufacturing of any small appliance in America, literally. And it's the Chinese. And maybe Michelle could also talk about the money that is actually being the retirement funds for the government employees. They've allowed companies associated with the Chinese Communist Party to be on the list of acceptable companies to put into the portfolio for the government employee retirement.
Yes, and that needs to be addressed by legislation. There was a bill last year that was proposing to would stop all investment of pension funds, especially government pension funds, into Chinese companies.
Hmm.
And that is something that needs to be passed. Again, it can't be done by executive order. So and we've had support in doing that now for two congressional sessions, but again, the bills didn't get out of committee. So of course, so this year we have the best chance of having that happen. And the next 3 months will be really critical to get those kind of bills out of committee and onto the House floor and Senate floor.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's key. I highly recommend, people that are interested in keeping up with these things to actually it's to, get on the Coalition Process America, newsletters, sign up or even join. I'm a company member, a small company member. I've been a member since 2011. So when I did my research for my books, there was not a single organization in the country that I found in 2009 that was doing anything to save American manufacturing, because the National Association of Manufacturers had become controlled totally by the global multinational corporations that were all, promoting offshoring. And each of the different trade associations for, say, different industries like the plastics molding industry or the rubber molding industry, they were only focused on their narrow issues that affected their trade association. There was no umbrella association. And actually, the coalition was started by people that left NAM, the National Association of Manufacturers.
Really?
They were joined by the ranchers and farmers who were getting also shafted by their organizations for global reasons. And so it actually started up in 2008, at the end of 2008, but I didn't hear about them until 2010. And I actually got acquainted with another author, Ian Fletcher, who wrote Free Trade Doesn't Work, What You Replace It and Why, that came out in 2008. So we got acquainted, and he was working as their chief economist in 2010, and he told me about the coalition, and that's when I started getting involved with them. So, and they're
That's
still
interesting to know.
they're still the only organization that's really working to rebuild American manufacturing and help farmers and ranchers with the trade policies that are adversely affecting them.
Is the Coalition for Prosperous
Right,
America.
right.
Well, and interesting because like if you put it together on your own, you can come to the same conclusion. Because I've been studying a statistic from NAM for many years now. For every dollar you invest in the U.S., $2.67 is returned to the economy. So is it no wonder that we should be thinking about increasing our manufacturing footprint?
Right. Oh,
Right?
yes. Yes, definitely. Right. So, and now that our national debt has reached unsustainable proportions, more people are paying attention to these issues than ever before. Because
Yeah.
the latest thing I heard, that our national debt, it would be $270,000 per person of the US population to pay off the national debt. That's
Yeah.
mind-boggling. I
It's
mean, that's,
mind-boggling.
some people, I mean, just $270,000, that's some people's career earnings.
Yeah. No, it's a conundrum really, because we've gotten accustomed, this is like my summary here, is we've gotten accustomed to less, paying less for things, but not knowing from where they come, what conditions, like all sorts of like you said, no, tariffs, etc. But basically, we've got accustomed to living that way. But it's like it's not going to be a pleasant transition. There's going to
No,
be some
no,
volatility associated here.
right.
On the
And
other hand, we have to think about the future if you want to be, like you said, safe, secure, prosperous.
and jobs for our children and grandchildren.
Right.
I'm a grandmother, and neither my children nor my grandchildren have been able to afford to buy a house.
Yeah,
Now,
it's certainly a problem in California, to say the least, huh?
that's right. That's right.
It is not simple. So we
No.
had can you remind, somebody asked if we could, can you tell us again what transshipping is? So
Oh,
we can make sure.
transshipping is where a country that is subject to tariffs, to avoid the tariffs, they ship the product to a non-tariff country. So China would ship to South Korea, or China would ship to Vietnam, and then the
Yep.
parts would be shipped from South Korea or Vietnam as if it was made in Vietnam or South Korea instead of China.
To avoid
So
the tariffs. I
they're
mean,
doing
that's
they're doing it
partly
to avoid the tariffs.
correct. That's partly what is going on with Vietnam and why there's such a large
It's why Vietnam
topic.
has our debt to, or our trade imbalance with Vietnam and South Korea has escalated because of transshipping.
Unfortunately, yes. And even Mexico, because there
Oh
was a
yeah,
lot
I was
of
just going to say Mexico, because they're shipping parts to the contract manufacturers in Mexico.
yep.
So then it
I
comes from
actually have a colleague that focused on setting companies up in Mexico. And she's been doing it for like 15, 20 years or something.
right.
And when the markets, since I don't know who thought that Trump might win, her business came to 100% halt. And
Really?
actually, yep, because they stopped building all these like big facilities. And so she actually ended up having to leave or start doing something else as well, because like that she was dependent on the China investments into Mexico. Now, that's not to say all of Mexico is that way. My understanding is, there's a lot of good trade, good, I mean, what's good, but meaning transshipping trade that's going on in Mexico. But obviously her business was dependent on the China investments. But it was very interesting because like that is absolutely a great story to illustrate that point.
Well, I have a degree in French and Spanish, and I actually used to sell down into Mexico pre-NAFTA. I had customers down in Mexico because I read, write, and speak Spanish. But after NAFTA, it wasn't worth my time and effort. It had where you had to buy an FN certificate to do business in Mexico. You had to have a passport to show. You had to have proof of an appointment when you went across the border. And you could not get more than one appointment at a time. So it became not worth my time to go sell down in Mexico because it would be one appointment that could take up almost a whole day with the traffic that you have to contend with coming back across the border. So,
Yeah.
and I once upon a time thought that, building, plants in Mexico or increasing manufacturing in Mexico was beneficial because that would be one less person coming up to work in the United States illegally. So, so
Yep,
and it
absolutely.
did it, and the manufacturing jobs in Mexico did increase their middle class. So it had a beneficial effect. But
Very good. And there's one participant that really wants to ask you a question and he's also seen, so Diraj, is that how you say it? Do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I'm ready. My name is Dheeraj.
yes,
Go
Yeah,
for
I'm
it. We
ready.
can hear you.
we can
Yeah,
hear you.
yeah. Thank you, ma'am. As an international student, like MBA student specializing in operations and supply chain management, like I am deeply interested in like making real impact in manufacturing industry, and like however, found it like challenging to gain hands-on experience on like opportunities to work on actual industry problem. And like as a student, I strongly believe that if companies could share real life world challenges with students, and it would not only help us apply our learning but also bring fresh perspective to the table. Are there any existing program platform or initiatives where student can actively engage with the real industry problem, and how can we better position ourselves to access such opportunities?
That's an interesting question. Reminds me that I once upon a time had an idea that companies could, make their equipment available after working hours to students at these community colleges to do work on. But for liability reasons, it wasn't possible because for insurance reasons, it wasn't possible to do that. Uh, there. There is a maker space in San Diego that's it's called the Make Tory, and they have manufacturing equipment, and you can become a member for a low cost and go use the equipment that they have and get hands-on experience using it. And they also do training for how to use their equipment. But I don't see a way of right now of getting manufacturers to provide opportunities for students to use equipment. And
It is tricky because of the insurance problems.
yeah,
There
Uh,
used to be a maker in Riverside
like
too.
ma'am, it's not like it's not only about instrument. I just wanted like connect with the industry so to understand what real life challenges they are facing currently, and like as a student will get exposure to that and will be able to give solution as a student what we are learning and what the knowledge we are having with us. So yeah, that is
Well, from
it
that point of view, things like ASCM is a good place to connect with people, but there's Michelle's mentioned a couple of, names of organization?
SME, yeah, SME has you can be a student member of SME for very
Yep.
low cost, and you get
Yeah.
to you get to go on plant tours, and they have webinars and so forth, technical sessions at trade shows. SME is the major sponsor of the West Tech show, and I took classes at the West Tech shows for years, and how I got some of my technical expertise in specific things that I sell, like investment castings and so forth. And I was also a member of ASM, which is the materials organization. There's
Yep.
depends on the degree you're going for, and what you know what organization would affiliate with that kind of degree, because there's an association for mechanical engineers. There's all
Yep.
these different kinds of organizations that you can join and get hands-on eh, contact with people in your field at different companies. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
I
would
think that's
recommend exploring that.
Yeah.
I think it's
Thank
very
you.
true, Michelle, and you've been like generous with your information, so you can follow people like Michelle as well. And
Yeah.
it's one of the ways. It's a little tough in manufacturing because it's more I want to say diversified. I don't know if that's the right word, but localized. So,
Yeah.
you have to, there are some organizations that cross over and bring concepts, but I mean, it's good though that folks are interested in learning more about it.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
because unfortunately, the business organizations, like the one that wound up being the best for me to network with, was Tech San Diego, which was formerly the American Electronics Association. And when they closed all their offices, the director, Kevin Carroll, started up Tech San Diego. And that was my best opportunity to get, hands-on experience. I was part of their planning committee for their operations roundtable monthly meetings for 12 years.
Mhm.
And but I learned so much. I learned so much from that. Lots of lean training as part of it. But I was getting like a 2-hour workshop here and a 2-hour workshop there, but I wasn't earning a certificate. So I finally went, and I actually took the green belt class. But because I don't work for a manufacturer and couldn't
Oh,
do a project, I only got the yellow belt certificate. So, but
You probably know
it
it, though.
was a 12-week class on Saturday mornings that I went to. So,
Mm.
Interesting. Very
I
interesting. Well, actually, one last question that I have that's kind of related is, the future in manufacturing is very advanced technology, to your point, industry 4.0, 5.0. Is there like a conference or something that you would recommend, like where the latest trends and technologies related to uh, you know, technologies for manufacturing would be that you can think of?
right. Well, unfortunately, the latest one always has already occurred. So we have our
What's
Del
that one?
Mar. That was the conference that took place at the MD&M show. They had a conference that coincided with that show. That was in February, and then there was also the another show in March. So our next show coming up, where there's a lot of sessions that you can go to for free, is the Del Mar Electronics and Manufacturing Show. That's April 23rd and 24th at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. It's free with free parking. So it's the
Wow.
only show that's absolutely free. The next trade show in West Tech, and they're going to be in the fall, the Design to Part show in West Tech. There's a couple of financial companies that do conferences. I spoke at one that's put on by Cascadia, but that just happened in March. So
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 March in the fall, or the
yeah,
early in the year in the fall is the time. That's fine though. Like plan
yeah,
ahead.
February through May is when most of them are, and then again they start in September. So those are, but you can sign up for my newsletter for free at my website, savingusmanufacturing.com. You can be an individual member of the Coalition for Prosperous America for only $50 a year. So you can join as an individual and not a company. And again, as almost all the engineering organizations have student memberships. So if you're a student, you can join any engineering association that fits your focus and what you're getting a degree in that will benefit you. So those
Very
are my
good.
recommendations.
Yep, thank you very much, Michelle. Well, we very much appreciate you taking the time to get us updated on the latest in the manufacturing renaissance that's going to be taking place here and what we should be thinking about and doing. And I think it's a very timely topic, and I think it's the good news is we're poised for success. So this,
we are.
folks
We
who are
are.
listening,
We're
go ahead.
we're poised to totally become a manufacturing focused country again.
Yeah, and I would just add to that this is not an old time, like going back to the past type of manufacturing. I think like I said, manufacturing adds more money to the economy than I think any other industry. If you just go with the NAM statistic of for every dollar you get 267 added back, and if you're utilizing advanced technologies into it, I think it's the industry of the future. So bright future for manufacturing.
Right. Definitely. It's
And
been
professionals.
yes, and it's been interesting. I've been essentially a woman in a man's field, like you, Lisa. When I started out selling, I was selling castings, forgings, and extrusions, and there wasn't a single engineer that had ever been called on by a woman selling castings, forgings, and
I
extrusions.
imagine actually it's like the least likely place.
Right. Right.
It's true for me too, though. When I was a vice president of operations and supply chain before starting my consulting company, I was like the only woman everywhere. But I never thought of it that way. It was just, the career of interest, and
Right.
anyone can do it. I wouldn't let that hold you back if you're a woman.
Right. And I got into sales because there was no glass ceiling in sales. Whereas working for a defense contractor, there was, because I took over the responsibilities without the title or the salary to be the assistant to the marketing manager of Cubic Defense when I was 21.
Wow, that's impressive.
But I couldn't get the title. The male assistant left, and I took over all his duties without getting a raise or a title.
There you go. So see, instead of like complaining, you found another solution. So
yes.
that's what I'd advocate is, we can all make a huge impact on future generations and the American economy. So it's great that the ASCM attendees and related organizations take advantage of this opportunity. It's only going to come once in our lifetime here.
Oh yeah, I have no regrets for getting into manufacturing as a career. Absolutely. No regrets. It's been interesting, stimulating. However, I can say sales is no fun anymore because I don't get to see people.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
No appointments. Relationship selling doesn't work when you don't get to see people.
It is an issue.
Right. It is. So it's been a pleasure, Lisa. Thank you for
very
inviting
good. Thank
me.
you very much. And stay tuned. We're going to have another next month's webinar is going to be on artificial intelligence and how those types of technologies can help in manufacturing. It's actually focused on the manufacturing segment with a little bit on supply chain. And then we'll go from there. Send us your feedback. And also we have an event coming up. Michelle, you're invited, complimentary with all that you've done for us. It's at Heroes in Ontario. I think it's Ontario. It's not Australia. Yeah, it's Ontario, by Ontario Mills. And it's, we're gonna, it's gonna be a member appreciation event and an industry event, so we can create some of this collaboration for the future. So I'd love to see you all there. Sign up. You'll see it on our website or one of our emails. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.